Hello everyone, my name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. Hey there everyone, this is album review 490. Never thought I'd get this far, and kind of always hoped, never thought. But the point being, that means it is time for a Canadian album review. We're going to do this one in order. I will tell you right now that number 500 will not be a Canadian band. So 499, I believe, is planned to be Canadian as well. Either that or 501. We'll figure it out as we go. That's not the point. The point is, we are talking about Rush. Now, this is the CD that we're talking about comes out of. This is the Rush Replay times 3. And what this is a DVD of Exit Stage Left. And I've already done the album review for that. Then we got disc 2, which is the album DVD for Grace Under Pressure Tour. And then we've got disc 3, which is a Show of Hands tour. And then disc 4, which is what we're reviewing today, is the CD of the Grace Under Pressure. Here on the back it says Grace Under Pressure Tour soundtrack. When you look at the picture online, or you look at the CD itself, it just says Grace Under Pressure 1984 tour. Now, I've covered an extensive amount of Rush Live, and at this point, this will be the last Rush Live CD I will probably cover, because I don't have I have other ones. I've got the Clockwork Angels tour DVD, I've got the Rush 40 DVD, I've got the Rush 30 DVD, I've got the Rush in Rio DVD, but I just have the DVDs. I don't have any special sets where it's got the DVDs and the CDs included. And since this is not a DVD review, it's a CD review, I will not be doing those unless something changes and I get my hands on copies of those. So, I have already covered All the World's a Stage, which would be the tour from the 70s. I have covered Exit Stage Left, which would be the tour from Moving Pictures, if I remember correctly. Different Stages I have covered as well, so that would be the 90s. So this one kind of fits in that weird period for Rush. Some people love the mid-80s Rush. Some people hate the mid-80s Rush. I don't dislike it, but as I go through the track list, you'll discover that I'm kind of particular about my 80s Rush. The whole way around, I'm going to be completely upfront, the whole way around, I have only watched this DVD set a handful of times. And a lot of the time, I end up having to watch each disc in multiple runs, just due to the time period the music was released in. It's the easiest way to put it. I'm not a huge 80s fan. I love the 70s. I love the 90s. I love post-90s. I think Clockwork Angels was a brilliant album. It was a great album for it to be their last. Brilliant album for it to be their last. So let's get into this. We've got the intro on this, which is just, how they start off the concert. It's always something fun and cute and humorous, stuff like that. Rush is good that way. I enjoy Rush very much that way. From there, we go into Spirit of the Radio. Yes! Great way to kick off the tour. Get that song out there on the way. Gets the crowd pumped up, rocking. Really good time. From Spirit of the Radio, we go to The Enemy Within. And this is one of those songs that, honestly, I'm not overly familiar with outside of this particular album. And the reason why is I don't own most of the albums out of the 80s. I believe the only album out of the 80s I own is, I believe, Moving Pictures. I could be wrong, but I want to say Moving Pictures might be the only album out of the 80s I own. The other ones I know from Greatest Hits, stuff like that, but Enemy Within, not even really much of a Greatest Hits. So on that case, that's actually kind of nice to have it included in here, because that's something that, for your hardcore Rush fans, you're not going to have multiple versions of this you can listen to everywhere. You know, you're not going to find it on every Rush live album like some of these songs you do find. You got The Weapon after that. This is another one. I know the song, but one of those ones where I gotta say, okay, so when it comes to 80s Rush, it's way too keyboard heavy for me. And I feel that way about any band that goes really heavy on the keyboards and that. It does. I love piano. Absolutely love piano. I love when a church organ is being used. I personally have played with keyboards. They're fun to use. I like using them, stuff like that. I generally just don't like listening to keyboards all that much. It's just a thing I've got. I'll listen to a piano for hours, but the second you plug it and make it an electric piano, I kind of start tuning out on it. After that we get into Witch Hunt. Witch Hunt I know pretty decently, if I remember correctly. I believe that is off of Moving Pictures. I get in this one a little bit, not a lot. It's one of those ones where, and if I am thinking of the wrong song from the wrong album, the whole way around, it's one of those songs where, I'm just, it's that time period. New World Man. Okay, so I know a lot of people actually kind of dig on New World Man. It's got a great vibe to it. Really kind of, it gets the crowd going. Just a little synth heavy for me. Distant Early Warning. Okay, so this is another one. So you go with everything I've said already. I kind of dig on Distant Early Warning for everything that I just badmouthed a minute ago. Synths work in certain cases, and they work really good in certain cases. New World Man, I think the synths are great on it and whatnot. It's just not a song that I'm into. It's that time period, that 80s pop stuff that there's a lot of that kind of included into that. Okay, so everybody really likes to talk a lot about Genesis when you go from the Peter Gabriel era to the Phil Collins era. The reality is it wasn't going from the Peter Gabriel era into the Phil Collins era. It was going from the 70s into the 80s. And the reason I'm using Genesis, we're talking about two great prog bands that just really took their prog approach, but in a pop route, and it really worked. It worked out exceptionally well for Genesis. For Rush, it gave them some of their biggest hits, some of their honest to goodness biggest, highest chart topping hits. And that's wonderful. It just not the music I'd prefer to listen to. Red Sector A, I just kind of tune out on that one a little bit. I'm going to be completely honest. Always have. I don't mind it. I never have had issues with it. I just, not one that appeals to me. Closer to the Heart. I love Closer to the Heart. Live, on the radio, when they play the regular version on the radio, it's kind of like, alright, whatever. But when you get the live version going, it's fantastic. And this is one of those songs where, I've got multiple live versions of it. And as such, I will say flat out, the one on different stages is by far my favorite version of Closer to the Heart. Then we get a medley, 9 minute 41 seconds, and in the 9 minute 41 seconds, they do YYZ, Temple of Syrinx, and Tom Sawyer. I don't know if that's how it was done live, where they medleyed it the same way live, or if that's something that was kind of put together for the album. Now in Rush, I want to say that might have been done live. I really should go watch the DVD because it'll be on the DVD, right? Some bands, when they put medleys together so they can pump out the best parts of their songs, it really, really works. And that's what it is here. With this medley of YYZ, Temple of Syrinx, and Tom Sawyer, it's basically all three slammed together, ran through, I don't want to say fast, because it's not, Rush does not rush their music. But they slam them together, they get kind of the best parts in there, really get going on it, and it's really enjoyable. Tom Sawyer, for the most part, is there in its entirety. YYZ and Temple of Searings, they're just kind of, they flow nice into it. It's really enjoyable to listen on the album when this is playing through. If I were to, I'll get back to this afterwards, my breakdown at the end on how I would do this album a little differently, or how I would listen to it. Then we're on to Vital Signs. Meh, alright. I mean, I enjoy it while it's playing, but honestly, sandwiched between track 10 and track 12, it kind of gets lost a little bit. You kind of blink. It feels like blink and you miss it, even though it's not really blink and you miss it, because track 12 is the Finding My Way in the Mood medley, which they do tend to do that one off quite a bit as well. And it's nice to have the Finding My Way in the Mood medley as opposed to the Fly By Night in the Mood medley, or other ways that it's been done and whatnot. The whole way around, if this album was available on just its own separate CD, which it might be, I'm not sure, I haven't looked into it, on its own separate CD, I would still buy it, because it is a reflection of that time period. But the reality is, there's only 2, maybe 3 songs that I would 100% take off of this to put into a all-around Rush mix. Like, if I was putting together a Rush live mix, I would definitely take Spirit of the Radio off this one. I really do enjoy this version of Spirit of the Radio. And I would take the YYZ, Temple of Searings, Tom Sawyer medley, because I really enjoy that as well. Finding My Way in the Mood, the only reason I wouldn't take that, I do really enjoy it, but the only reason I wouldn't take that one specifically is I don't have a version of just Fly By Night separately. It's always medleyed with something else. And because of that, In the Mood is, I believe, usually the one it's medleyed with on most of the versions I've got. I'd have to double check. But I'd rather have Fly By Night on there, because it's one of my favorite songs. That one always reminds me of being in the car with my dad. Rush in general is just a big with my dad kind of thing. And I'm going to say that's probably a good reason why I'm not big on the 80s Rush, is my dad wasn't a big fan of the 80s Rush either. My dad was definitely in the 70s Rush. My dad's the one that got me into, 2112 and Fly By Night as a kid. I expanded on it from there myself personally. All the World's a Stage is because of my dad. Exit Stage Left is because of my dad. So my dad really did have a very important part of my life when it came to Rush. So, whenever I think of Rush, it's got to be stuff that makes me think of my dad. Or stuff I'd listen to in the car with my dad while we're driving around, kind of thing. Anyways, folks, that's it for this one. Let me know what you think below. That's what the comment section's for. On your way down to the comments, you're going to see some links. You're going to see a link for the TWA, that is the Trampoline Wrestling Association. You got to check it out, man. Picking up steam. We're into season 2. Season 2 episodes are dropping already at this point that I'm recording this. Awesome show, man. Great show. Get in on it while it's still fresh and new. You also see a link to my Patreon, which you know how Patreon works. You can go there and throw me some cash. And there's also a link to the Howling Odyssey, and that is where my music endeavors go right now. I've been doing a big streak of relaxation music there. Anyways, folks, peace, love, take care.